The seahorse. Every morning for weeks, these fish wake up and dance together for an hour. Miss one morning and the whole relationship falls apart. But here's what makes their dedication even more extreme. While most fish just release eggs and swim away, seahorses commit to a daily ritual that would exhaust marathon runners. The male and female intertwine tails, change colors from dull brown to brilliant orange and yellow, and perform synchronized swimming patterns that look like underwater ballet. It's like having a mandatory hour-long date every single morning. That's 7 hours of dancing per week just to maintain the bond. Over 28 hours of courtship dancing before mating even happens. The color changes happen through specialized cells in their skin that respond to emotional states, making them one of the few animals that literally blush during courtship. And after all this effort, it's the male who gets pregnant and carries the babies. He'll nurture up to 2,000 babies in his pouch while still performing these morning dances with his partner. Scientists studying seahorse pairs found that couples who skip even a single morning greeting often abandon each other within days. The bond requires constant reinforcement through movement and touch. The only animal where dad does the birthing and still has to prove himself every single morning. The bowerbird. Imagine spending 2 months building and decorating a house just to get someone to look at you. That's this bird's actual life. The decorating rules are so specific that breaking even one means starting completely over. Male bowerbirds don't just build nests. They construct elaborate architectural structures called bowers, using hundreds of carefully selected sticks, then spend weeks collecting exclusively blue objects to decorate them. We're talking berries, flowers, feathers, bottle caps, pen caps, drinking straws, anything blue they can carry. It's like building a one-bedroom apartment from scratch, then filling it with 100 carefully arranged decorations. Some males collect up to 1,000 blue objects and arrange them by size, shade, and texture. The real obsession shows when you watch them work. They'll adjust a single berry's position 20 times until it's perfect. If a rival moves even one decoration, they notice immediately and fix it. Some males get so desperate, they steal blue treasures from neighboring bowers, leading to full-on heist situations where birds stake out each other's displays. People assume the bower is a nest where babies will be raised. Nope, it's purely for courtship display. Once the female approves and mating happens, the male tears the whole thing down. 2 months of work destroyed in minutes. Evolution decided this bird needed to be equal parts architect, interior designer, and art thief. He builds an entire art gallery that he'll destroy the moment she says yes. The black grouse. These birds wake up before dawn every day for 3 months straight just to scream at each other on a hilltop. And they love it. Their necks do something during these displays that shouldn't be physically possible. Male black grouse gather at traditional display grounds called leks, the same spots their ancestors have used for generations. Starting at 4 in the morning, they begin inflating specialized air sacs in their necks until they're 4 times normal size. Then comes the sound, a booming call that carries over a mile and sounds like a cross between a dove's coo and a freight train. 4 hours of intense display every morning. That's like working a part-time job just for courtship. Over 360 hours of displaying per mating season. They fan their white tail feathers into perfect semicircles, lower their heads, and charge at rivals in ritualized combat, all while maintaining those impossibly inflated necks. The females watch from the edges, judging every movement, every call, every display of stamina. Most males will perform this exhausting routine every single dawn for their entire breeding season, and never mate once. The top male at each lek might mate with 20 females, while the others get nothing but sore throats and sleep deprivation. 3 months of 4 a.m. wake-up calls, and most males never mate at all. Time becomes currency in these rituals, and some animals are willing to spend everything they have. The emperor penguin. In Antarctica's worst weather, when it's -40 degrees and dark 20 hours a day, these penguins decide it's the perfect time to start dating. For 2 months. What they do to stay together through blizzards would kill most other animals. Emperor penguins begin courtship in March, Antarctica's autumn, when temperatures plummet and 100-mile-per-hour winds become standard. They waddle up to 60 miles across sea ice to reach traditional breeding grounds, then spend weeks performing mutual ecstatic displays. Both birds point their beaks skyward, sway their heads in perfect synchronization, and produce trumpeting calls that echo across the frozen landscape. 2 months of dating in conditions that freeze exposed skin in minutes, while not eating anything. Males lose 45% of their body weight during courtship and incubation. The couples practice walking together in tight formation, learning each other's call among thousands of identical-looking birds. Once paired, the male will balance their single egg on his feet for 2 more months, while the female returns to the sea to feed. But that famous huddle everyone's seen in documentaries? That's not for mating. It's for survival after courtship ends. The real romance happens in the open, in the worst weather on Earth, with both birds slowly starving while they perfect their synchronized movements. They spend longer choosing a partner than most people spend choosing a house. 2 months in the Antarctic darkness, and that dedication is about to look reasonable compared to what's coming. The slug. These slugs climb trees, hang upside down from their own mucus, and then things get weird, because both of them are about to become male and female at the same time. Then they extend something from their heads that makes even scientists uncomfortable. Leopard slugs begin their courtship by following each other's slime trails for hours, circling on tree branches in slow-motion pursuit. Once they meet, they intertwine their bodies and produce a thick mucus cord from a special gland. They lower themselves down this cord like the world's slowest bungee jumpers until they're hanging completely free in midair, hanging by mucus strong enough to support 2 bodies, while extending organs the length of their entire body. 4 hours suspended in midair by a thread thinner than dental floss. What happens next defies belief. Both slugs evert their reproductive organs from openings near their heads. These bright blue structures can extend to the full length of their bodies, wrapping around each other in a spiral. They're hermaphrodites, so both individuals transfer sperm to each other simultaneously. The organs pulsate and writhe for hours while the slug spins slowly in the air. Sometimes these organs get so tangled they can't retract them. When that happens, one or both slugs will chew off their own reproductive organ to escape, not the penis from heads that viral posts claim. It's actually a specialized reproductive opening that just happens to be unfortunately located. Evolution gave these creatures a mating ritual that requires gymnastics, engineering, and sometimes self-amputation. If human dating involved this much acrobatics, our species would have gone extinct. Sometimes the ritual itself becomes more extreme than any predator these animals face. The pufferfish. For 1 week straight, this fish works 24 hours a day creating underwater patterns visible from space, all to impress a female who will judge it for exactly 3 seconds. The patterns follow mathematical rules so precise that researchers initially thought they were human-made. Male white-spotted pufferfish create geometric sand sculptures on the ocean floor, using nothing but their fins. These aren't random circles. They're intricate mandalas with radiating channels, raised ridges at specific angles, and a central nest area decorated with shells and coral fragments. 7 feet is bigger than a king-size bed, built grain by grain using only fins. Over 500,000 fin movements to complete one structure. The male uses his body like a tiny bulldozer, pushing sand into peaks and valleys while maintaining perfect symmetry. He works through storms, currents, and predator threats. If the pattern gets damaged, he immediately repairs it, sometimes rebuilding entire sections. Marine biologists discovered these patterns follow the golden ratio, the same mathematical principle found in spiral galaxies and flower petals. The female's inspection involves swimming exactly once around the circle's perimeter. If she approves, she'll lay eggs in the center. If not, she leaves without acknowledgement. The male then guards the eggs alone while his masterpiece slowly erodes back into flat sand. 168 hours of labor for 3 seconds of judgment. The Smooth Newt. This amphibian grows a giant jagged crest along its back every spring for one reason: to waggle it at females while doing underwater handstands. But the handstand is just the setup for what biologists call one of nature's weirdest seduction techniques. During breeding season, male smooth newts transform from boring brown salamanders into creatures with tall, wavy crests running from head to tail, spotted blue and orange bellies, and an inexplicable urge to perform aquatic gymnastics. They position themselves in front of females, bend into a perfect handstand position with their tail pointed up, and start whipping that tail back and forth to create water currents. 6 straight hours of handstands. That's longer than most people can stay awake during a movie marathon. Up to 300 tail whips per hour during peak display. These tail movements aren't random. They're creating specific water currents that carry pheromones directly to the female's nose. It's chemical messaging through interpretive dance. If the female shows interest, the male deposits a packet of sperm on the lake bottom and then has to guide her over it using more tail fanning. One wrong current, and she misses the target completely. After breeding season ends, the male reabsorbs his crest, returning to his plain appearance like some kind of amphibian Cinderella. And honestly, doing handstands for 6 hours straight seems totally reasonable for this list. Evolution looked at this newt and decided underwater breakdancing was the answer. The rhino. When a 2-ton female rhino decides she likes you, she starts following you around and whistling. For 3 weeks. And you can't escape because she's a rhino. But first, she needs to test if you can survive what comes next. Female rhinos completely control courtship timing. When ready to mate, they produce high-pitched whistling calls that sound bizarrely delicate coming from such massive animals. They'll follow their chosen male relentlessly, spraying urine to mark their interest and headbutting him whenever he tries to rest. 3 weeks of being stalked by something weighing as much as an SUV. That wants to ram you headfirst to test your durability. Impact forces during courtship sparring can exceed 2,000 pounds per square inch. The male has to endure increasingly violent tests. The female rams him with her horn, delivers body slams that would kill most mammals, and only accepts him if he keeps getting back up. These impacts can break ribs and cause internal bleeding. Males sometimes die from courtship injuries, but running away means genetic failure. Throughout this violent courtship, she continues her whistling serenade between attacks. Males don't chase females in rhinos. That whole aggressive male stereotype is completely backwards. It's the females who initiate, pursue, and literally beat their partners into submission. If a male tries to mate before the female decides he's proven himself, she'll gore him with her horn. 3 weeks of being a living crash test dummy, all because she whistled at you. The only courtship where getting a concussion means she likes you. 3 weeks of dangerous testing, and somehow this still isn't the longest investment on this list. The Japanese crane. Even after 20 years together, these birds still perform the same courtship dance that brought them together. Every single year. Scientists thought this was unnecessary until they discovered what happens to pairs that stop dancing. Japanese cranes don't just mate for life. They renew their bond annually through elaborate synchronized performances that involve leaping 8 feet into the air, bowing with spread wings, and producing trumpeting calls that can be heard 2 miles away. The dance includes 30 distinct movements memorized perfectly. That's more complex than most wedding choreography. They're performing the same routine for up to 50 years with the same partner. Young cranes start practicing these moves when they're just months old, but it takes years before they can perform the full sequence without mistakes. The timing has to be perfect. When one bird leaps, the other must mirror the movement within a fraction of a second. When one bows, the other responds with a specific wing position. People think mated pairs stop courting once they're together. These cranes prove the opposite. Pairs that skip their annual dance show increased stress hormones and often fail to breed successfully that year. The dance isn't just tradition. It's biochemically necessary for maintaining their bond. In Japanese culture, these birds symbolize loyalty and honor for good reason. They literally dance their way through decades of partnership. The only marriage counseling that involves synchronized jumping. By the way, if you're discovering these incredible mating rituals for the first time, I create videos about the wildest animal behaviors every week. Consider subscribing to catch more stories about nature's extremes. Now, speaking of extremes, the bald eagle. These eagles test their compatibility by locking talons at 10,000 feet and falling toward Earth in a death spiral. Some couples don't pull out in time. Researchers have found eagle couples dead on the ground, still locked together. Bald eagles begin their courtship with spectacular aerial displays, but the main event is the cartwheel display. Both birds fly to extreme altitude, then lock their talons together and fold their wings. They plummet toward Earth, spinning and tumbling through the air while their talons remain locked. 10,000 feet is nearly 2 miles straight up, falling at over 100 miles per hour while locked together. Less than 3 seconds to release talons before impact kills both birds. This isn't just showing off, it's a test of trust, timing, and communication. Both eagles have to release at exactly the same moment. Too early and the display fails to impress. Too late and they both die. Some pairs get so caught up in the moment they don't release in time. Park rangers occasionally find eagle pairs dead on the ground with talons still interlocked. This isn't mating in the air like commonly believed. It's a trust exercise. The actual mating happens safely on a tree branch later. But first, they have to prove they can literally trust each other with their lives. Courtship flights continue for weeks with multiple death-defying drops. Each successful release strengthens their bond. By the time they finally mate, they've risked death together dozens of times, and somehow that seems completely appropriate for birds that mate for life. The only first date where failing to let go means you both die on impact. And that's what makes these rituals so incredible. For these animals, love is literally worth risking everything. If you enjoyed learning about nature's most extreme dating rituals, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. I share videos about incredible animal behaviors regularly, and there's always something new to discover. Thanks for watching.